One of the big secret weapons that producers have for transforming tracks, both the sound, the feel, and the vibe of them, is percussion. Percussion, when used right, can be amazing. It can really transform, take tracks to a whole new level. But if you do it wrong, you can kind of mess things up. And there are a couple really typical problems that I see people doing that are super, super easy to fix. And I'm going to share them with you now. So if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I am Ronan Chris Murphy, record producer, engineer, hundreds of albums all over the world. Some people you've heard of and plenty of people you haven't. But let's not talk about me. Let's get into percussion. So percussion is so crazy powerful. It is such an amazing tool that we have. By putting subdivisions in, we can change how something feels. We can actually even make a track feel like it's played a little faster. We can make something feel like it's driving or laid back. We can also spectrally change things. We can make a mix sound brighter in different sections by use of just adding percussion. Incredibly powerful, and we're not going to get too far into that, how we use it, but the important thing is we use it a lot. And a lot of people think, well, percussion, yeah, if I was in a band like Santana, I'd use percussion, but I'm not. But the truth is, percussion is so powerful. There's a reason why you find it on Taylor Swift records and Black Sabbath records and Rob Zombie records and Pearl Jam records and Katy Perry records. It is super, super powerful. But I'm going to show you a couple things that I run into a lot of people making mistakes that can sort of mess up what they're trying to achieve when adding percussion to their project. One of the main reasons we add percussion is it's an interesting way to create subdivisions. And when we create defined subdivisions, it's amazing. The whole band can actually sound a little tighter, and also something that feels a little lazy can start to actually feel like it's got more life. That's why it's so common to hear productions where maybe there's no percussion in the verse, but then we hit the chorus, checka, 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 checka. There's some driving subdivision, so it makes it feel, even though we're on a straight click, it can make it feel like the band sped up in the chorus and then mellows back in on the verse. Super, super powerful. It's also a really interesting way just to spectrally change things. When we add, say, a bright tambourine or some kind of bright shaker, it can make the whole mix sound brighter in a way that's often a lot more pleasing than boosting more high end on the drums or boosting more high end on the guitars. So it is really powerful how we can manipulate the listener experience just by adding these really simple tools. But I'm going to show you 3 things, maybe more if I get on a roll, to be careful of when you do that. One is percussion outside of Latin music and very percussive oriented music is often something that we want the listener to feel but not think about, especially if we're putting tambourine onto a hard rock record or something like that. And the important thing for that when you are adding that is to keep it very consistent. So if we have a percussion part that just goes checka 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 or ja 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 ja, very simple backbeats or very simple subdivisions, you'd be amazed how loud you can put that in the mix. And the listener never even thinks about it. They just think this mix sounds great. I want to dance. It's got good groove and vibe. But all of a sudden, if you go checka 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 checka, start doing something fancy, the listener's ear will be drawn to it. So all of a sudden, if the listener's ear is drawn to that percussion, all of a sudden, this is a percussion-centric mix. Again, if that's what you're going for, great. But most of the time, we're trying to use that as a tool to manipulate our listeners a little bit. So if you want to be able to put percussion in to manipulate the listener without taking the focus away from the other elements of the mix, keep your things very, very simple. Backbeats, eighth note subdivisions, quarter note cowbells, any of those kind of things. If you keep them very straight, you can mix them really surprisingly loud in the mix without anybody actually noticing. But as soon as you do a little fancy thing, the gig is up. And also, one extra thing on this is when you have a simple percussion going all the way through the track, again, amazing how loud you can mix it without people noticing. But where people will often notice that is in a snare drum roll or a tom fill or a break. So a lot of times what I'll do is if I have a loud percussion track going through, whenever the drummer does a snare roll, I will mute that. Or when they do a big tom roll, I will mute the percussion and have it come right back in on the one. at the end of that tom fill. So again, that allows me to use that percussion in a big way without actually drawing the listener's ear to it. So here's mistake number two. Mistake number two with things like shakers is it's very common to play them like this. So one of the things you might notice is when I do that, and you'll notice my hand is moving a lot, and it's very common for us to go. So we do that big throw forward to get that harder accent. Very cool. That is the natural way to play something like that. But do you notice what happens here? You notice how I just got a whole bunch closer to this microphone. If this microphone was a meter away, we wouldn't be worrying about it. But if we're looking at something close, not only are we going to get it closer, which will make that part louder, also we run into the range of potential proximity effect. So if you do this, I'm going to go ahead and try it. So I obviously wanted an accent, a strong accent in there, but I wanted it the way I felt it. And with this, I'm actually messing up the feel of that. And by getting closer to the microphone, super, super easy trick. Record sideways. So again, we're going to be going across the field. So certain might change the sound a little bit, but if I play the same part now, we're not really getting any noticeable difference in proximity to the microphone. So I'm obviously not a great percussionist, even though I played on a bunch of records. But recording dynamic percussion kind of from the side rather than at the mic is a great way to go in and maintain the natural balance of how the player played it. And we don't have to try and go and use something like compression to try and bring that back into the way we intended it. Compression's one of those things that when it's done on percussion right, oh my God, is it powerful. But if it's done wrong, not so cool. So that's number 3. And here's number... No, that was kind of number 2. And here's number 3 or 4, depending on how we're counting. One of the big mistakes that people make with percussion is they have the drummer play it. I'm actually not being sarcastic. Of course, I'm making a ridiculous blanket statement, but it's a very different thing. Being able to play percussion, especially something like a tambourine, this motion is something very different for a guy or a gal who's been doing this motion. That is a whole different feel. And it's amazing how many times I've worked with fantastic drummers, great feel, so easy to work with. And they say, hey, can we do a tambourine overdub? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, this is just not happening. So obviously a lot of drummers are often great percussionists, but a lot of them aren't. And when you're making a record really fast, you don't really have time to say, okay, drummer, go study percussion for a few months and get it to feel natural, and then we'll do this overdubs. You gotta get the record made. So here is my super, super simple but crazy powerful tool. So we can do something like this. And it can work, get in, but sometimes that drummer doesn't have the right feel. So the really simple workaround for that is to actually make this have this part done in a way that feels a lot more natural to the drummer if the drummer is going to play it. And so one of the things we can do, rather than swinging it around in a way that's unnatural for a kit drummer, is just do something like this. So that's actually a way more natural action for a kit drummer to do. So rather than swinging around in an unnatural way, we can do this. Okay, that's it for now. I just wanted to share that super simple tip while I was thinking about it. I hope it's a little bit helpful. And as always, if you're into that sort of thing, subscribe and like, and leave me a comment. Start.